After the fatal stabbing of William F. Dugan that involved Nicky Scarfo, Merlino, and Luis Mateo, Lawrence Merlino would later finish his high school year. In the following year, in 1964, Lawrence Merlino would finish Catholic High School, Bishop Newman High School in South Philadelphia. From an anonymous source, we've heard reports that Lawrence Merlino himself had dealt with being bullied and was caught up in several physical altercations. Before Lawrence Merlino had graduated, Lawrence Merlino had dealt with several altercations from an anonymous source that we received. And one of the reports is that Lawrence Merlino sometimes felt that violence was a necessary way to resolve his issues, and that itself will be an asset when he indulged in street behavior, especially when he was recruited into being a whole new family that was not biologically his, but a whole brotherhood of code. And now, since his brother Chuckie Merlino was rising to the ranks under Nicky Scarfo's wing, Lawrence Merlino will also join that brotherhood coming soon. During the mid-1960s, Lawrence Merlino would marry Phyllis Hyman Merlino. In a 2009 Philadelphia Inquirer article written by George Anastasia, Phyllis stated that she was 16 years old when she married Lawrence Merlino. She would have 5 children by the age of 22, and she was separated from her husband at the age of 23. Lawrence would later move at the boarding homes of Nicky Scarfo's mother on Georgia Avenue. He would later move specifically to 28 North Georgia Avenue in Atlantic City, as you can see from the screenshot from the FBI reports. You can see his nephew, Skinny Joey Merlino, confirming this as well.
Got his ass good today.
Live from Eddie Jacobs' office. We're in the heart of Atlantic City.
We're at 28 North Georgia. Here's where I used to live with my fucking rat uncle.
Right up there, right, Joe?
Yeah, the 3rd floor. Here was the office.
Scarfink right here?
And that. My uncle had the rebar. They had Scarfink.
Okay.
Here was the yard. Nicky used to throw 1976, he'd fuck a hell of a barbecue.
Really?
My father cooked, pig, everything. Packed, 100 people.
Episode 47 from Atlantic City. It's a lot of history down here, and we're going to undercover a lot of things. What was over here, Joe?
Nicky's house right here, Georgia Avenue.
This
I
is
used
the
to live.
famous house.
I used to live right here. This was Scarfink. I used to live right up here.
That was your bedroom up here?
Yeah, 3rd floor. With Lawrence, that motherfucker. He should die.
He
is dead. He is dead. This was the office right here, Scarfink.
Everybody comes here, they take pictures, they go look at it.
I can't believe you know how all these buildings are?
How old were you when you were living here, Joe?
So I got done ratting. I moved down here. I lived in there with Nicky, my uncle.
And there's a lot of good places over here in Atlantic City.
Yeah, this is all. We used to, right here is Angeloni's now, right? We're supposed to do a podcast.
The Merlinos would live above the cement contract company Scarf Inc. Lawrence would also work another business called Nat Nat, as you can see in this photo. The Merlino and Scarfo family were elated that their loved ones didn't face long prison terms. However, this was just the beginning of the reign of criminal activities. Years later, in the 1970s, the Philadelphia crime family, Scarfo's nephew, Philip Crazy Phil Leonetti, will also enjoy their entourage. Meanwhile, Lawrence Merlino was reported to be abusive towards his wife during this time, as she later reported. She was separated from him and refused to reconcile with him in 1977. She would file for divorce from Lawrence. And there are other different articles in which Lawrence Merlino's behavior said that he was not involved in his children's life, despite him having 5 children and him becoming a rising star in the Philadelphia mob. He was not involved in financially supporting them, and in today's standard, he would be labeled as a deadbeat father in today's climate. Now, even though there has not been police reports or many articles of that time of the domestic abuse occurring, this is also during a time era where many women did not report about their spouses or significant others abusing them, especially if their significant other is involved with organized crime. There could be later serious repercussions if she was to able to report about his allegations being brought against him. And of course, for her own safety and for her own children, Phyllis Hyman had never reported to the authorities about Lawrence Merlino's alleged behavior. So therefore, things was kept in the dark after his untimely demise. For some, Lawrence Merlino did have the personality of being such a great friend in his community, and a lot of people have also reported that he was definitely a womanizer even during the course of his marriage. Meanwhile, while he was becoming a rising star in the Philadelphia mob, he also had to prove his loyalty to the family, and then this is where another story will emerge. Lawrence Merlino would not be the triggerman of this shooting. However, he would play a part to disposing of the evidence for this criminal activity that we're about to bring. One fateful night in 1979, Vincent Falcone, a crime family associate, made negative comments towards Scarfo Inc. and about Scarfo and Chuckie Merlino. The rumors floated around the street. When Scarfo caught wind of it, he decided to plan the plot of executing Falcone. Subject: Vincent Falcone. My uncle never really liked Vince. He didn't think he was cut out for La Cosa Nostra. My uncle would say about Vince and Alfredo, "They are not meant for this thing," meaning La Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours. Now Alfredo had stopped coming around. He even stopped doing business in Atlantic City with his concrete company. And even though my uncle wanted to kill him, it wasn't a top priority at the time. But now with Vincent Falcone not following orders and then talking subversive to Chuckie and Lawrence about me and my uncle became obsessed with killing him. He used to call Vince the big shot when he spoke about killing him. He'd say things like, "We're going to show the big shot who's in charge," things like that. Vince had been long enough to know how my uncle was, and I think he knew that we were going to kill him. So like Alfredo did, Vince stopped coming around. Now at the time, Vince was married, but he was seeing a young girl who lived on Georgia Avenue, right across the street from us. This girl's name was Maria. She and her family had moved from South Philadelphia to Ducktown, just like we had. She was a beautiful young Italian girl with dark hair and a pretty face. Now, if Vince would pick her up or drop her off, he would never drive down to Georgia Avenue because he knew we wanted to kill him. I used to tell her that Vince was no good and that she should stop seeing him, but she was young and she didn't listen to me. There was something special about this girl. Even back then I felt it, but not every murder had to take place right away. Some were business, like Louis DeMarco and Pepe Leva murders, and some were personal, like the Judge Helfont killing. To Nicky Scarfo, killing the big shot Vincent Falcone had become personal, and just like he did with Judge Helfont, Scarfo set out to lull Falcone into a comfort zone and then kill him when he least expected it. Now around this time, a position opens up with the concrete union. We are playing like nothing happened. Me, Chuckie, Lawrence, the Blade, and Vince is doing the same because he wants to be the boss of the company. Now, at this time, Alfredo isn't around anymore, and Vince is hanging with a kid from South Philadelphia named Joe Salerno, who was a plumber. Me, Chuckie, Lawrence, the Blade, and Vince is doing the same business because he really wants to be the boss of the concrete union. Joe Salerno had borrowed $10,000 from me and my uncle and was paying us 2.5 points, or $250 per week, in interest on top of the $10,000 he owed us. It was a standard juice loan, and at the time we were doing a lot of loan sharking. Every week I'd go out and pick up envelopes or guys who came from our office. Everybody paid because they knew our reputation. These type of loans were our bread and butter. With the holiday approaching and the promise of a new job waiting for him in the new year, Vince Falcone thought he had a lot to look forward to. He thought wrong. My uncle organized a little party at the house in Margate 9 days before Christmas. He was already there waiting for us to arrive. Lawrence had a Thunderbird at the time, and he was driving. I was sitting in the passenger seat, and Vincent Falcone and Joe Salerno were in the back seat. It took us about 10 minutes to drive from the office on Georgia Avenue to the house in Margate, which was right on the beach. Now my uncle's in the living room of the apartment on the second floor, and to get up there you had to climb a set of wooden steps that were adjacent to the outside of the house. The house was a 2-story duplex. It was cold and windy, and it started to get dark and you could hear the wind coming off the ocean. Looking back on it, it was kind of eerie. I was wearing a black leather jacket and it was zipped all the way up, and I had a .32 revolver tucked in my waistband. Lawrence and Joe Solano were ahead of us and talking as they went up the stairs. Joe Solano had no idea what was going to happen, but Lawrence did. Now Vince is a few feet in front of me and I'm behind him, and we're going up the steps, but he's kind of hesitating, like he's uncertain of what's going on. He said, "Where's everybody at?" I thought Chuckie was coming down. I put my hand on his back and said, "He'll be here. Let's get inside and make some drinks," and kind of ushered him up the steps. His antennas were definitely up, but I had positioned myself behind him, so if he decided not to go up or up the steps, or if he tried to get away somehow, I would have blasted him right there. When the 4 men reached the top of the steps, they walked into the apartment, where little Nicky Scarfo was seated on the couch watching a football game, waiting for them. Little Nicky Scarfo didn't just want Vincent Falcone to be killed, he wanted to be present when it took place. This wasn't business, it was personal. While most powerful mob leaders would seek to insulate themselves from the murders they order, Scarfo wanted to bask in them and personally savor the experience in any way he could. The Falcone killing also provided Scarfo with the opportunity to commit a murder alongside his nephew, to literally bind the 2 men together in what was becoming Scarfo's never-ending bloodlust. To little Nicky, the entire universe seemed to revolve around 3 things: the mob, murder, and family, specifically in that order. The killing of Vincent Falcone in the manner for he foresaw gave him the chance to combine all 3 of these at the same time in one giant orgy of death, lineage, and La Cosa Nostra. When we talked, Vince kind of froze, and I continued to usher him inside to break the little bit of tension, and that was in the room. I said, "Come on, Vince, let's make some drinks." My uncle, who was still in the living room watching TV, said, "Hey Vince, bring me a cutty and some water." Now at the time, Lawrence was in the dining room area talking with Joe Solano, kind of distracting him. That was all happening within seconds of us walking into the apartment. So we grabbed the bottle of scotch from my uncle and put it in the kitchen table, and then I said, "Vince, get some ice." When we started walking away towards the refrigerator to get the ice, I reached into my jacket and then took the gun from my waistband. I walked right behind him and blasted him right behind the right ear. As soon as I shot him, his body propelled forward, just like what happened to Louis DeMarco, and they crashed into the refrigerator and crumbled to the floor. All of a sudden, Joe Solano starts going nuts. Here's the news clip of Philip Lene on primetime television singing in his words of what happened as he approached Vincent Falcone's final moments.
To prove himself, he had to deal with a guy from the neighborhood named Vince Falcone, one of Phil's friends who had managed to insult Scarfo. The 2 of them invited Vince over for a couple of drinks.
I picked the bottle up, the scotch bottle, start drinking it to try and break the little bit of tension that was there. And I said, "Vince, come on, get some ice. It's in the refrigerator. Come on, let's make some drinks." He came in, he went to the refrigerator and opened the freezer, and that's when I shot him.
How many times did you shoot him?
I shot him once in the back of the head, and after he fell down, my uncle listened to his heart, and he said to shoot him again in the heart. And I shot him again in the heart.
Do you not feel any sort of... What do you feel?
I feel nothing. I don't feel nothing. I feel cold.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and check out more of our content. Feel free to give your feedback and suggestions on what we should do next in the comments. This is Infinite Lee Productions. We love ya.